stand down, man down. Go out and vote today. I hope people are. And Zach, I mean, I'm getting nervous here, but hey, we got a show to complete the second part of this show, and we might as well get there because should the Eagles or Commanders be trusted more long term? And can the Cowboys get back in the NFC East race despite Dak Prescott being placed on IR? So, Zach, clearly a two-part question here. If you want to begin, should we begin with the Cowboys and then go to the Commanders and Eagles? I think we should do that. Zach, talk to me about the Cowboys. Can they get back in the race despite losing Dak Prescott for a couple games?
I don't think they can, Lil. And I'll start off by saying this. Really, the first move of this morning, the first move of the last day of the trade deadline, of course, was the Cowboys trading a fourth-round pick to the Carolina Panthers in return for a former first-round wide receiver in Jonathan Mingo, a guy that I feel like most football fans don't even know who he is, let alone the fact that he was drafted in the first round. He has been very uninvolved and very underwhelming during his time in Carolina. You've seen a couple of those other young wide receivers there really jump him in that receiver room. And the Cowboys, to me, it's interesting too. They also gave up a fourth-round pick for Trey Lance a couple of years back, who is not even going to be starting at quarterback this week. It's looking like Cooper Rush is going to get the go. And the Cowboys, too, a lot of people, I think, like them to go into Atlanta and put together a pretty good effort on Sunday, and they didn't do that, and that wasn't shocking to me, not only because of the injuries, not only because of the struggles they've had all year, but also it was reported on Saturday that Ezekiel Elliott, a guy that I thought was the leader of this team, we know he's clearly not the same player he once was, but he provides leadership, at least that's what I thought, but he didn't even make the trip to Atlanta because of disciplinary reasons. He broke a few rules in the building. I don't really know what exactly happened there, but he did not play. He didn't even make the trip to Atlanta. And that just showed me, Lil, like when that's happening to your leader, a guy that is not on the team really because of his ability, a guy that's supposed to be one of the veterans and the top guys and most well-respected guys in that locker room, when he is being benched for disciplinary reasons, you're in major trouble. And that's what this Cowboys team is. I think they're cooked. They are a soft team on the defensive side of the ball. I know they have injuries, but every time I watch them, it feels like if you punch them in the mouth, they're going to fold. I don't think they're well coached. I would have, of course, fired Mike McCarthy after they got embarrassed in that playoff game last year against the Green Bay Packers. And I think they are clearly third place, or maybe even last. I don't know if I'd go that far, but they are definitely not anything close to the same tier of Philadelphia or to Washington. And that's an interesting development because really for the last half decade, it feels like the Cowboys and the Eagles have been the top two teams in the NFC East with Washington and the New York Giants on the other side. And going into this season, we thought that's where things still stood, but it's very clear that Washington has overtaken Dallas as that top two team in the division. So I think this team's season is cooked. If I were the Cowboys, I would play Trey Lance. You gave up a fourth round pick for him. And I know that might not sound important, but let's keep in mind, Will, like this team cannot run the ball right now. And I like Rico Dowdle. He made a nice play in that game on Sunday, but they need a true alpha running back. And now when I was looking at the draft and what exactly was going on in that fourth round, they could have drafted a guy like Bucky Irving. That's been very impressive so far for the Buccaneers. They could have drafted a guy in Braylon Allen who ended up going to the Jets. And although he's not getting the same volume as Breece Hall, he looks like a very good young running back. They could have had either one of those two guys, but instead they traded a fourth round pick for Trey Lance, who can't even get on the field. And we know that his future is not in Dallas because they signed Dak Prescott. So that was really just a waste of a trade, especially if you're not going to even put Trey Lance out there on the field. So I think this team season is over. I think Mike McCarthy's gone after the season, and they really need a wake-up call right now. And they host the Eagles on Sunday. That's a huge game in the NFC East. If they want or have any chance of putting their season back together, they have to win that game. But with Cooper Rush and the way the Eagles have been playing lately, I know we're going to get into them and how they easily could have blown that game against Jacksonville. That's not going to be an easy task. But, yeah, I think this Cowboys team is cooked.
Yeah, I think they're cooked as well. I don't think they can get back into the NFC East race. You talk about the trade for Jonathan Mingo. I believe they gave up more than what the Chiefs did for D-Hop. That's what people are saying.
They gave up a fourth. The Chiefs gave up a fifth.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. And look, I I don't like that value right there, but I also thought that a lot of people were saying they should tank. I don't agree with that either. I think there's too much financially invested in this team to tank. You paid your quarterback, you paid your wide receiver. The best case scenario right now is that if you're rocking with Cooper Rush, that you win 2 out of the next 4 games at least. You go 2-2 in Dak Prescott's absence, and hope that your $60 million quarterback annually can take the baton and lead you to where you want to go. For me, I think that Trey Lance starting him, I wouldn't have either. Because I think if Dak Prescott could not succeed with this offense, there's no way that Trey Lance is going to. And clear, Trey Lance is not your guy. We know that. You paid Dak Prescott already. He's paid. That's your future. So there's no need to evaluate Trey Lance. Now, if you want him to go out there and give you some trade value, well, good luck. Because, like I said, Dak Prescott didn't look good with this team anyway, right? So you're going to kill his draft stock throwing him out there. Nah, bury him on the bench and see what Cooper Rush, see if he can hold it down and give you a split, you know. So yeah, I think Jerry Jones, for me, he failed Mike McCarthy. And look, I'm not siding with Mike McCarthy. I don't think this guy's a top 10 coach in the league. I think he's a bottom tier coach in the league. Right, he should have been gone last year after the playoff debacle in the wild card at home when they got dismantled by the Packers, young football team, the youngest team in the NFL last year. At that, we failed to bring that up. But look at the impact that Derrick Henry is making on the Ravens right now. Jerry Jones, did y'all the check, bro? Okay, I don't want to hear you couldn't afford him. He signed a little, 2 years, $16 million deal. That was a little slap on the wrist for that production that he's giving them right now. And you can't even run the ball, okay, at all. Like, no. And then on top of that, we see Mike McCarthy clearly frustrated. He slams the tablet almost like he had like a Moses complex. Like it was like the Moses slamming the 10 Commandments because his people ain't listening and obeying. Okay, like it's frustration out here. It's real, B. You got to blame Jerry Jones. Dak Prescott hasn't been playing well. They can't run the football. Lots of man coverage, which means lots of tight windows. And you can't stop the run. Your defense is soft. Your secondary is getting roasted and toasted. And look, you have a football team that's incapable of winning football games despite the financial investments that was poured into this team to contend. And that's why I don't think they're going to be able to jump back in the race.
Yeah, so their next 5 games, hosting the Eagles this weekend, hosting the Texans on Monday Night Football after that. Then they go to Washington. Then they'll host the Giants on Thanksgiving. And then they'll host the Bengals on Monday Night Football. I think this team season is cooked. Cooper Rush, I know he filled in a couple years ago, did an okay job, but
that team that he did an okay job, that defense was one of the best in the league, and he only had to be a game manager. This team needs a savior at quarterback. He ain't that dude, bro.
I agree, and that's why I would try to get Trey Lance in there sooner rather than later. I mean, look, I just feel like I haven't seen enough of Trey Lance to definitively say he sucks or that he can't play. I just want to see him get a chance. That's all. And for this Cowboys team, they're not going anywhere anyway, so why not put him out there?
All right, Zach. Let's talk about the Eagles and Commanders.
And before we do, Lil, like you would get rid of Mike McCarthy after the season, right? You agree that a change has to be made there?
Yeah, I would be polite and keep him for the rest of the season. I won't fire him now. I will get rid of him at the end of the year.
And you got to hire Belichick. That's the only guy that can turn this franchise around.
I agree with that. You got to, unless you're not, and that's the thing, if you're not willing to hire Belichick and pay him the money and give him the, some power that he may want, then what is your backup plan? You can't fire a coach without a backup plan. So that, to me, that backup plan got to be Bill Belichick or bust.
And that's one last thought on Dak Prescott too. I think he's a back-end top 10 quarterback. I think there's value in what he provides, but he hasn't proven that he could just put the team on his back and carry you to a championship. And I think a big reason for that is because really since he's gotten into the league, his coaching has done him no favors at all. Going from Jason Garrett to Mike McCarthy, I know they've won a lot of regular season games during that stretch, but I don't think with that coaching and a guy like Dak Prescott, he's ever had a real chance to win a championship. If you pair him with Bill Belichick, I think that would be the first time where he has a head coach that could really help him try to get over that ceiling.
I agree. Zach, let's talk about the upper class in this division in the East. Do we trust the Commanders or do we trust Philly more long term?
Yeah, well, I'll start with Washington. I want to give them some credit. We know they made the big trade for Marshawn Lattimore today, getting him from the Saints. I think that really helps them. I think it really makes them better because their defense has been the weakness of the team so far, at least compared to the offense. But I thought that was a really good win by them on Sunday against the Giants. We know that they got that huge Hail Mary against the Bears, and I've seen a lot of times in my years watching the NFL, after a game like that where the emotions are just so high, you found a way to win when it looked like you were dead. You have a road divisional game against a Giant team that has not played well at home all year. It could have been very easy for Washington to overlook them. Dan Quinn did that a lot during his years with Atlanta. Cliff Kingsbury, same thing with him in Arizona. But Washington, they just stayed in the game. They didn't make mistakes, and they let the Giants shoot themselves in the foot like they've had the last few years, and they were able to hold on and get the win. I thought that was a good win, going on the road in the division, getting the job done. Credit to Washington. They are now 7-2, their best start in years, and they are not only a clear-cut playoff team, but they are right in the thick of things to win the NFC East. So I think they've had a great season. I think Dan Quinn, we're going to get to our awards a little bit later. I don't know if we're going to talk about Coach of the Year and who we would vote for that so far, but I think he's right there. In terms of the Eagles, though, I think this could be the most frustrating team in the NFL for me to watch because there's so much to like. I think Jalen Hurts has played some really high caliber football over the last month. He stopped turning the ball over. He's getting back to running the ball. He's looking a lot like that guy we saw 2 years ago in 2022 that led them to the Super Bowl, the guy that they paid. The Saquon Barkley edition, it couldn't have worked out better for them in that regard. He's backwards hurdling over Jaguar defenders. He's making plays every game. He has been phenomenal. I think Devontae Smith is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. That touchdown grab that he made on Sunday, and we didn't even know it at the time, but that ended up being a very important play. I thought that was right up there with Garrett Wilson in terms of best catches of the year that we've seen so far. AJ Brown, I know he got hurt. It looks like he's okay, avoided any major injuries, but it's clear that when he's on the field, he is a difference maker. He is one of the best wide receivers in the game, and credit to Vic Fangio, because after a slow start, this Eagles defense has been playing a lot better. Cooper DeJean, inserting him into the starting lineup along with the young corner Mitchell. I think this defense is getting better. They're playing well. But the thing that just holds me back from this Eagles team, and I'm sure many of you listening as well, we all know it, is the guy in our graphic right over there, Nick Sirianni. He is just incapable of making logical decisions, and it is ultimately going to end up costing this team. I don't know when it is. I don't know where it's going to be, whether it's in the NFC Championship game, whether it's in the first round, the second round, the Super Bowl like we saw a few years back, but this guy is just not a championship caliber head coach, and I think ultimately it is going to come back to bite them, and that's super frustrating because when I was thinking about it, like, who are the biggest threats to the Lions in the NFC? I would put the Eagles right there in terms of talent. This is a team that got to a Super Bowl 2 years ago. This is a team that could go blow for blow with them in terms of scoring, but the Lions just have a pure coaching advantage from there. Now, the Eagles actually play the Commanders in 2 weeks on Thursday Night Football in Philadelphia. That is going to be a massive game that I already have circled on my calendar that could decide the NFC East. Now, if you ask me gun to my head right now, who is winning the division, I would still lean with Philadelphia because they're going to have that game at home, which could allow them to draw first blood in this series. And I've seen them get to a Super Bowl. My thing with Washington, Will, right now, I don't really know what their ceiling is. They've had a great year. They started off 7-2, but what are they? Are they a Super Bowl contender? Are they a team that could challenge Detroit? Are they the best team in the NFC East? I'm not really sure yet. I need to see them go on the road to Philadelphia and put together a valid effort. Even this week, they host the Steelers. That's a very winnable game, but we know Mike Tomlin and his history against rookie quarterbacks. He's dominated rookie quarterbacks. He does not lose to them. Now, this is not just any rookie quarterback, but that game will tell me a lot. So for me, I'm going to have a better answer on this question after the next 2 weeks when we see Washington, their next two games, hosting the Steelers and then going to the Eagles. on Thursday Night Football. I think those two games will tell me a lot. I think that I feel a little bit more confident in Philadelphia right now because I've seen them get to a Super Bowl. I've seen them win a little bit more big games, but credit to Washington. They've had an awesome start to the season. The Cliff Kingsbury hire has been money, and I just want to see a little bit more. I do.
I do believe Mike Tomlin lost to Stroud last year, if I'm not mistaken. Did he?
He did, but
Yeah.
he's like 25-4 against rookie quarterbacks or something crazy like that.
And he did lose the Colts this year, even though AR is not a rookie, but technically red shirt rookie. I just wanted to throw that out there. But salute to our guy, Ryan Jones, commented on Instagram. We can't pull up Instagram comments here, but he said that Philly is a logical answer because of the experience. But Washington may be the NFC East champs, right? So clearly there's a split. Clearly, some people may think that Washington may win a division, but the Eagles will go further, right? There's a lot of ways you could look at this question. But I think for me, I would just say that when it comes to the Eagles, we all know they have the talent, clearly. And Devonta Smith made some big plays, as you alluded to, including that one-handed catch in the back of the end zone, right? Very underrated. Could be a number one on a lot of football teams, right? But the Eagles, they can get away with a lot of hero ball. I see a lot of that, right? When things look murky, they have the hero ball. They get away with some of it. A.J. Brown is that big body wide receiver who can make contested one-on-one catches, right? Saquon Barkley can take the ball to the cup, right? Can literally hurdle you backwards, right? But as you alluded to, and I agree, Nick Sirianni remains a problem. And he did everything possible to blow that game with his questionable coaching malpractices, right? Now, you look at why they lost the championship a couple years ago, it was Nick Sirianni taking his foot off the gas, not being aggressive. You have to be an identity, right? You have to fill the game, but you also have to have an identity. Are we an aggressive team or are we conservative? You can't mix and match both. You have to be able to know, like Dan Campbell, I'm aggressive, I'm going to go for it, because now you box yourself in. You coach scared when you're dipping back and forth. The Eagles don't know when and when not to handle high-profile moments, and that's their issues. They should have lost this game. The Jaguars are a football team that find ways to lose. That's why their record is what it is, okay? And instead of them running out the clock when they had the ball, they throw a fade route to the third option running back, and Trevor Lawrence throws a bad ball. I didn't like the call, but it could have been a touchdown if Trevor Lawrence threw a good ball. He threw a terrible ball, a duck ball, and guess what? It was a pick, an easy interception. Go home. Okay? That's my issue. This win was not impressive at all. In fact, anybody who thinks this win is impressive should really reevaluate their expectations and what they will accept in the game of football, because that was bigotry right there. You have a lead. Win the game. The Jaguars are a terrible football team, one of the most disappointing football teams in the NFL this season, and probably the last couple of years, if I want to be honest with you. Okay? And you allowed them to crawl their way back in the game, tie the game, get some plays on defense, make some defensive plays, score, get back in the game with an opportunity to win the game, and they blew it. You didn't help end the game. They blew it. That's the issue. And I feel like I'm at the same place that I was in the offseason. Yeah, the Eagles are talented, right? But we saw how last year ended. What Eagles version are we going to get? And now, 9 weeks, halfway point of the football season, I'm still debating whether or not I should be encouraged, optimistic, or discouraged and pessimistic, right? That's not a good thing. It's 9 games, bro. I should be able to read this football team like a book, but I can't. Okay? Now, the reason why I'm going to go to Commanders here is to be trusted to win a division the most is because I do think that they have a good coaching staff over there. I trust Dan Quinn a little bit more. And granted, he has a history as well, but he's been coaching great right now. Cliff Kingsbury, the thing that I like about the offense is that they don't really put themselves in third down and long situations. They definitely are very good in the first couple downs of the game, so they make things easier for Jaden Daniels. And when they do need a big play, Terry McLaurin and the Daniels connection is definitely lethal, right? So you have to realize this as well. We haven't seen the peak of the offense. Cliff Kingsbury is still learning what he can do with Jaden Daniels, what kind of guy he is. We just found out he's competitive. He's tough. We just found that out last week, right? We know he's talented. What else can he do? We know he's a dynamic runner. What else can he do? What else could we add to this offense? That's only going to enhance their defense. This is where the X factor is for me. Has been playing well the last couple of weeks. I do believe that 4 out of the last 5 games, they held their opponents to 16 points. The defense is going to be the X factor on if Washington can really go far in these playoffs, barring that they make it, which they should at this very point in time.
I just wanted to say, shout out to Terry McLaurin. I think that guy's an absolute dog, and we're finally seeing with a real elite quarterback just how good he could be. I think he's had a phenomenal season, establishing himself as one of the best in the game. But Lil, I'll ask you, as someone that has been higher on this Commanders team than me, even dating back to the preseason when we had Lake on, like, what do you think the ceiling is for this team? If you're saying that you like them and trust them more over Philadelphia, like, are they Detroit's biggest threat in the NFC? Could this team get to a Super Bowl? Could this team win playoff games? Because I think they could, but I just want to see how they do in some of their bigger games coming up. And that's for me. I think you make some valid points about Sirianni in that game on Sunday. I think the thing that disappointed me the most about that game is in the first half, the Eagles were dominating them, and they looked like the team that I expect them to be. But then Nick Sirianni makes one boneheaded call to go for 2, and everything unraveled. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, the Jaguars are right back in that game in a position to win. And with Washington, they've had some business-like wins. Again, I was impressed with that win over the Giants. I know it's the Giants, but that's a road divisional game coming off a massive high. Good teams find a way to win that game, and they did. But, like, where exactly do you stand on this Commanders team in terms of, okay, if they are really the team you trust the most in the NFC, just how good are they?
Yeah, in the NFC East. And I think
NFC East, so.
When you look at Jaden Daniels and some of the film, right, some of the games, high-profile games that we have available to go off of, right, because we need a backbone, we need a source to explain why we feel the way we do and why we making predictions the way we are. Go back to the Ravens game. He went toe-to-toe with Lamar Jackson. Went toe-for-toe. Normally, that's a prime spot to get blowed out. Look at Bo Nix, who was playing well the last couple of weeks. They had no shot to win that game, bro. But Jaden Daniels did. He had a shot to win the game. What he did against Joe Burrow. Went toe-for-toe with Joe Burrow. Won the game in the fourth quarter, right? Hail Mary, come with me. I mean, they won the game last week, right? Follow me. I'm your guy. Hail Mary, right? Now, I think all that is doing is adding confidence and building equity and building the confidence that you need to win games in January, which are going to be highly contested games. And I think for me, as to use an analogy here, it reminds me of, let's say for an example, you 23, 24 years old, and you take your friend who's 21 years old to the bar, could drink for the first time, and he's a pro. He's out here chugging more beers than you are, right? At 21, first day at the bar, right? He can hang with the big dogs. Jaden Daniels can hang with the big dogs. That's what he's shown us this year. When he went toe-for-toe with Joe Burrow, when he went toe-for-toe with Lamar Jackson, when he went Hail Mary mode, right? He's only going to be able to get more confidence from that, and I think he can hang with the big dogs, and that's why I think when you have a quarterback that could hang with the big dogs, dare I say is a big dog himself, then you have a chance to win football games and playoff games.
I'm just really curious to see what this Commanders team does in their next 2 games. Again, they're hosting the Steelers and then going on the road to Philadelphia. I think they'd sign for a split going 1-1 in those next two games, but if they could find a way to go 2-0, I'll be fully invested. I'll be fully bought in. But I'll decide with the Eagles' experience. Now, I think ultimately Sirianni is going to cost them their ultimate goals. But again, you got to be excited if you're a Commanders fan. Starting 7-2, getting Lattimore, it's apparent that the energy in that building has shifted. And I don't think any team or any fan base could be more excited about the start to the season than them.
I agree.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.